Can a very small car actually also provide a lot of sporty driving fun, or can a sports car maybe reduce emissions, reduce traffic space and be, somewhat compatible with city day traffic? Well, the Volkswagen Up GTI tries to do that. The smallest one here from the VW lineup is also now available with more horsepower in the GTI trim, and we'll experience it together with you on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. We are also here today in Monte Carlo, and we will also take a small spin on the Formula 1 racetrack in the road status as it is here at the moment. An exterior, interior and the driving experience we'll cover in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! And we want to start with a little agility feature with the new Volkswagen Up GTI. 115 horsepower, and you already heard it. Some nice sound coming from this 1-liter 3-cylinder engine, and we are actually above Monte Carlo at the moment. Let's see what we can score. Of course, we are obeying the speed limit, as you've seen. Police is already here, fishing some people. So you shouldn't be too fast. But of course, a great look. Wow, what a scenery. Really, really nice. And well, the police was over there. This guy offers things, well, whatever. They can't be any more place else. The thing is always, of course, my driver's license is my insurance basically, so I need to keep it. But we can still drive very well here and also show you how direct the steering wheel is. It's very easy to control, but when you're going right and left, it's really a go-kart feeling with 15 millimeters lower suspension from the Up GTI. It feels really sporty, it's a light car. Sports cars are actually also supposed to be light. Here now, hairpin corner, I stay in the second gear. It's actually possible, I don't have to shift. So the turbo makes it possible I can stay in second gear and even accelerate up from about 10 kilometers an hour or something. Now third gear. You can actually be lazy with shifting even. Now the next pin. Very well to control again, very precise from the steering. It really has the true GTI feeling like in the Polo GTI or like in the Golf GTI. Of course there are some differences in weight and power and stuff, but the basic GTI feeling, you cannot really describe that well. The whole concept then, from everyday driving life, suitable, but still somewhat racy. The good compromise between it and just the driving fun. This car definitely has it, and here already proves it. And of course, tune in later also to the next driving parts, when we drive in Nice and in Monte Carlo on the Formula 1 racetrack. Not racing speed, but still very interesting, I can promise you. Let's dig deeper with the review. The Up GTI is available in black, silver, white and red. Optional also with a contrasting roof. Well, we picked the red today because that's the raciest color, I think. In general, it has a smooth bonnet here in the front. Then we have a GTI badge for this GTI version, and of course also a sporty lower bumper with a honeycomb structure right there, and again a black part beneath the red paint. And well, it looks sporty for such a small car from the front for sure. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. 3 meters 60 or 11 foot 8 is the total length of this indeed tiny vehicle. Available as a 3-door version as we have it right now here, or also as a 5-door, that's 500 euros extra. So the GTI can also be bought with a 5-door. Then 17-inch rims comes in the GTI package, GTI badge, contrasting mirror caps, also the contrasting roof here in black, you can rather see it from the top. And also this black wrapping right here to give a little bit more contrast on the lower part. In general, the suspension sits 15 millimeters lower here for GTI to have a little stiffer driving experience. And of course, in general, the Volkswagen Up, well, has this box design layout to have as much room possible on the inside for as little space on the outside. And of course, a small spoiler for the sporty touch also in the rear. And should you wonder, yes, drum brakes in the rear, but that's perfectly fine considering the weight of the car. The braking performance is definitely enough. Well, one advantage is there, the drum brakes here, they don't collect rust then on the brake discs. So since the most recent facelift, this vertical taillight structure has been updated, looks a little bit more modern, more textile. And in general, the Volkswagen Up is characterized by this glass panel on the rear part, all in black. That looks pretty modern. And the GTI now has this kind of diffuser, well, just a plastic lower part, and also a real chrome exhaust tip. Three-cylinder, 1 liter of displacement. We basically know this engine from the 90 horsepower turbo variant, which we've tested earlier since the facelift was out. Here, 115 horsepower now, so 25 horsepower more. And this gives you a better acceleration than 8.8 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour, just about 1 second faster. And considering the weight of the car, this one is really more than sufficient power, I can already tell you. The consumption so far on the motorway was about 5 liters, and if you go rather in the city, it will be around 6 liters on 100 kilometers. That's the same for the GTI engine and for the normal 90 horsepower turbo engine. And even more interesting, this one here now, one of the first serial production cars from Volkswagen, which has from standard production the particle filter also for a petrol engine. You might remember the NOx particles, those ones are most problematic with the diesels, but the fine dust also comes out of especially the small petrol engines, which are turbo tuned, and this one is reducing it by 95% of those fine dust particles. So I think an important step further to get our air in the cities especially a little bit cleaner, and this also fits to the overall scheme of having a sporty car, but which is definitely more sustainable and environmentally friendly than like real big super sports cars and stuff. So this is a standard Volkswagen key. You can also use it in a manual mode, but usually you use the electronic functions right here. Then, as is this one, the 3-door. It's a wide door that you can also access the rear. Et qu'est-ce que c'est dans l'intérieur? Our French lesson for today. Well, it's very interesting here that we have red paint on the interior. You know, I've said it a couple of times. Usually you would say, yeah, it's maybe cheap, but I think it's fitting to the car. In this case, it's also bringing more color into the car without being, you know, bad or something. The window levers are not automatic, by the way. You have to hold them all the time, that the window also goes up and down. Then this is special new for the GTI, this red decor cover with a dot design all over the interior. Then we have the GTI steering wheel, red contrast stitches, flat bottom, and the tartan seats. The sport seats themselves, they also exist for the normal up, but then the fabric mix here on the interior, the standard GTI structure. So Caro we say in Germany, and well, tartan you say, for example, in the UK. And actually they are quite comfortable even for tall people. And now let's get inside, and it's a very easy entry. And the interesting thing is, I sit better in this vehicle than in a small car. You know, this mini segment is actually, when the seats are like this, a little bit more upright, better than the small car segment. So I sit more comfortable with 1.86 m or 6'1" in the Volkswagen Up than in the Volkswagen Polo. Funny thing. Headroom also, plenty available, no problem at all. The only thing I don't like is that the steering wheel can only be controlled in the height. You cannot pull or push it. And that's somewhat a problem, because I would need the steering wheel a little bit closer towards me. That would be handy. So one feature I do miss here. Price-wise, by the way, it starts at about 10,000 euros in Germany, but then with the GTI pack you get about 17,000, so almost double the price. But you also get a lot of equipment on the interior, you know, the air conditioning, for example. You have the rear view camera, you have the autonomous emergency braking assistant, all the sporty features here with the steering wheel, seats, and we've shown you. So if you spec and similar up, you also get higher in the price. Then seat control here, manual here for pump it up y'all. Yeah, I'm working on the t-shirt solution that you can get a t-shirt with pump it up y'all. And then the back part, you can also control it manual and really control it very easily. I found the solution quite good, and it's the same solution that also works when you want to flip the seat. The question is, can I get in the rear of this vehicle? What would you say? Let's find out. I always love to review cars that are more affordable than one of those 100,000 euro premium cars, because, you know, they're more close to the people that really, you know, more people that can afford the car. I really like that. So now, what about the rear? I use this lever here, push the seat forward, then I can get inside. It's actually quite okay, also for tall people. Of course, easier with a 5-door version. Then I can not only, well, this is working here, but then to pull it upright, I have to use the lever and again, and actually use the lever at the same time I control the seat. And then that's it. Well, headroom wise, it's no problem at all. It does still fit, but knee room wise, I do already hit the seat with my knees. It's no wonder, it's a very short car, but considering the length of the car, the room is still very well used. And now the interior overview. You can again see this red decor part, special for the GTI. It looks somewhat fancy, but when you touch it, it's somehow greasy a little bit. I'm not so sure. It might also wear off fast. We will have to check that on long-term run. Then you have the automatic climate control. I'll also turn on the ignition, as you can see the temperature like this. Seat heating is also available here when the engine is running. You can also control this mounted iPhone here with this media dock here, for example, with a hotkey for the GPS, and it jumps to the GPS or back to vehicle here again, consumption for today, here back to the, because it's better to control it here while driving, for example, then you don't have to touch in the iPhone. But it, of course, would also be possible, and zoom and pinch and so on. This cable here loads it and also connects it to the other car system with a USB plug in the rear. somewhat useful to charge it also because there's no other USB plug. But I mean, generally you can also save the money. Just put your iPhone on a proper holder somewhere and then use Google Maps while driving. Would also be a good solution. The steering wheel, again, we also know that from the Polo, for example, is the GTI steering wheel with the COM structure on the inside and the red contour stitches, and fits very well to the vehicle still. And the gauges actually look a little bit retro style, not that modern, and with the big round structure in the middle especially, look a little bit, you know, like from a VW Beetle, for example. In the lower part, well, we do have normal glove box that is sliding down rather fast, a little bit dampened. In the down part here, we have, for example, storage space for a phone, does exactly fit. And if we even more go down lower, then here the shifting lever has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gears, and the reverse gear with these with the GTI paint on the top. And put it right here, because then you can see that there's a cup holder in the front, 12-volt power supply, and I would advise you maybe to put this adapter in there. We have the 12-volt in the bottom, and then on the top are the 2 USB slots. They're not too expensive. That would be a good solution to charge your phone as well. You can also you know, set this tire monitor there. Some more space in the front, and of course still classic manual handbrake, yeah, for our drifts. So let's take a look at the trunk. Well, it's of course not long, but for the space we have here, it's still quite okay. You can put a cabin trolley like this. You can actually also flip the seats, even from here. They have a 1/3, 2/3 split. There we are. And even loading space. Well, and then you can see, you can load things through, but you can also remove this cover completely. And then you even have more space down there. And if you then, for example, put a cabin trolley in there, you can see it almost disappears in here, and you can put some next to each other, even like this, for example. You can even put maybe like 4 or 5. So overall, very well usable. And now I welcome you to the driving part. The very beautiful scenic road already. We are just basically downtown Nice. And soon we'll be passing the famous Hotel Negresco. Of course, here on the Promenade des Anglais. Well, very beautiful views here to the beach. Just a lot of cars going here, so that's pro and contra. And of course, we're right here in the middle with the up GTI. And well, rolling with this 3-cylinder is really calm and easy, and you hardly hear it. But the funny thing is, especially here in the horsepower trim we have with the GTI, as soon as you put it up, ooh, you get a really nice boost. And that's what the GTI version here is actually for. Well, it looked like a speeding camera, didn't it? So I have to watch out for that. So when I go back to the second gear, I can really put this 3-cylinder in this very characteristic sound. The 3-cylinders really sound differently than the 4-cylinders, and somehow I like the sound. The acceleration is now 8.8 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour, and soon we'll do, well, to 50 kilometers an hour, because that's what's allowed here at the moment. Manual gearbox, 6-speed, and well, there's 8.8 seconds for such a small car. But of course, even more important is really, you know, when you go like 20 to 50, something like this, what's happening in the city or countryside roads. So, you know, the higher acceleration will not be that important with this very vehicle. So, that's really fun. So, you know, so far the strongest up was 90 horsepower. Now this 25 horsepower more. You could say not maybe the biggest difference, but it is definitely notable. Also with a different setup, 200 Newton meters of torque. What we have here. Now the Hotel Negresco is coming. There it is. Hope you can see it on the small camera. Also from the inside, very famous building. I heard there's a residential cat actually inside the hotel, which is living there too. Very funny story. And of course very expensive. And on the right side, those famous pavilions also with the white benches. You can sit down and relax in the evening if it's still warm and stuff. And yeah, it's really good that also in winter times we have nice weather here. And especially when you're cruising around here in the city with the big advantage is it is narrow and small. Well, the steers, but also the car. So you don't feel annoyed like, oh, am I hitting something with my side mirrors? Also, I'm taking just little traffic space. So what I said initially, you combine a sporty car driving feeling with taking minimum traffic space. Also now, with less consumption than you would have with a bigger sports car, of course. Then also with the new particle filter, you know that NOx emissions is generally lower with petrol engines than with diesels, mainly a diesel problem. But the fine dust particles, this is also a petrol engine problem, especially with the turbo petrol engines. And those ones are reduced by 95% and with the new particle filter, which will be mandatory also for all petrol engines, at least in the EU. I think from new registrations from about September 2018, that should be it. So definitely improvements coming here, and now they're launching it already with this vehicle. And well, so far I don't feel any negative effect. The car definitely has a lot of power considering the low weight, and it indeed conveys a GTI feeling. And just, there's a Hyundai Ioniq pure electric vehicle facing us. Just the thing, especially going back to the second gear, and then you always are ready to accelerate, can really finely tune it, and then the really, really nice sound you receive from the car. So even when you just go in a straight line, we'll soon head out Nice and go to Monaco and cruise a little bit around Les Corniches. Those are the famous winding corners. They're also very nice to drive. But even if you're just rather going straight in the city, it's already a lot of fun. The steering wheel is very light, but still direct. See, I don't have to steer that much. I get especially from this very short wheelbase, a direct response from the car too. So that's also, again, accounting for this fun feeling. So if you, thought about, I just need a small car, I don't need like a very huge car, I still want to have the sporty driving gun, that one is definitely working. And the other aspect we are also feeling in the city, you're using less resources, less traffic space, less fuel. That's of course another advantage then. Finally, also that all of the things are painted on red on the inside, which you usually would say, it's not having a special cover on the inside of the doors. But here, it's basically also a feature that you can see it, especially if it's done in the same red color as the exterior. Also then fitting to this red dashboard pad. So does it give me a really different impression than the normal up facelift versions we've driven, I think it was about 1.5 years ago now. They are of course somewhat similar still. Yes, you feel the more horsepower it has. What a nice view again here, wow. And also the suspension is a little bit stiffer. So remember we said 50 millimeters lower. It gives me a little bit more direct contact to the road and even more fun to drive. It's not really uncomfortable to drive. If there are, really harsh bumps in the road, potholes, you do feel it, but you would also feel it with the normal up short wheelbase, not such a big car. We also don't have special adaptive suspension or something elaborate in technology as for this one. So it is somewhat rougher than cars in the higher segments. But then again, it's also lower in the price, and again, it's a small car. So you always have to rate them accordingly. And actually, we recently also had some bigger vehicles which were actually less comfortable than this one. Because also when you're driving it a little bit longer, or maybe if you're standing in traffic, which can be a little bit annoying from time to time. But this car here, it will not be a race track car, even if you could do that. It will be a city car to spice up your everyday city driving life. Now the marina, the inside harbor for the smaller boats, also on the right side, combining again this car review with some scenic shots. I know Gordon will love it, especially those combinations from outside, inside commentary. Looking at the analog display, but we can also have the digital speedometer at least. That's always helpful. You can better see which speed you're going. I'm sure Abramovich will have some yacht here. I mean, he always has some yacht somewhere over the world, and most of the time the longest one. And now, even more scenic for all the motor enthusiasts, we are in Monaco, Monte Carlo, and right here is the Formula One starting grid. We also can see the white lines on the road. This is where actually the true racing cars will be queued up. And it's of course even funnier to drive it here with the Up GTI. Here. Maybe you've seen on camera, this was the was start and finish. And I'll just take you here on a small tour now. Of course, it's not really the the part where we drive really fast. But then again, this is also not the car you drive 200 with, although it's basically possible to go high speeds. But maybe you not necessarily want to do that. Of course, all the very expensive buildings where no one could ever afford to buy anything. Here, then this famous part where it goes uphill, they floor it down to the bottom. We can also do that. Listen to the sound. Although we have the turbo engine here, the engine drives a little bit like Maserati, Bentley. The engine here a little bit drives like a naturally aspirated one, also maybe due to the sound. This upper part, Bentley Bentayga again, of course, all the rich people's cars driving here. Now slide left, heading to the casino. Of course, you can have a lot of fun already with the Up GTI here. So every corner basically in the city is also a lot of fun. Those spots there when you're on the balconies, everyone wants to be up there for sure during the races. What's coming now? Lexus NX, then Bentley Mulsanne. So hardly any spots where you see like 4 Bentleys in like 1 minute, but that's also what's happening here in Monaco. I think it's really good test to go with this vehicle in narrow cities, because that's also what it's made for. Let's also check out consumption. So it's about 5.8. So let's say 6 liters on 100 kilometers with mainly city driving. Of course, it should always be lower for a small car, but then again, we only had city traffic. So if we put that one here on the motorway, it will be lower. Like motorway and setting the cruise control, we can surely score some 5 liters or something. So this is also not mainly about the Up GTI. It's mainly about the general car, the weight, and how you are driving it. So if you're driving it a little bit calmer, or if you really floor to the bottom. And of course, this part I wanted to show you, probably my most favorite corner in motorcycle racing. Motor racing, motorsports. Most favorite corner in motorsports. Yeah, there it is. You all know this perspective from the camera up there. It's where the Formula One car go the slowest. Maybe I could even overtake a Formula One car here with the Up GTI. It's really nice because they've also kept the curbs on left and right, so you can also see that. And this is then the point where the cars can go back to the port, take a right turn. And what's coming now? Yes, the tunnel. This is where they reach also, top speed part of the track. Well, the real speed limit here is 50. And I think that's pretty clever. And if you now imagine that they are, how fast are they going there? 200 in the tunnel, something like that? I mean, that is super insane. Even 50 doesn't feel very slow here now. Of course, we wouldn't have facing traffic then, but wow, pretty scary stuff. Well, I mean, I have a lot of fun driving this car. Wow, now what a view on Monte Carlo. Really amazing. Now that will be the part where we also have this this chicane. Also, when there was this race, a lot of cars were just going straight and didn't really catch the chicane. It was a pretty spectacular one always. But we are coming to the end of our small test ride, and I hope you really enjoyed all those impressions here today. So combine this car, which is, having this sporty touch, but not a true race car, but a sporty, funny one, just with some motorsports history. And I think that was really a very fitting combination. What do you think? And now to our conclusion for today with the Volkswagen Up GTI. So yes, it does work to combine a little sporty feeling with the sustainability aspect. When you compare it to other bigger sports cars, here you have your traffic mass reduced, still can have some sporty driving fun for sure. Exterior is somewhat friendly, it's somehow a lovely car, especially in the red color here. The interior is also basically well processed. Well, infotainment wise, you shouldn't expect too much, just use your own smartphone. I really like the sporty tartan seats, but already in the base version you can get those integrated head restraint seats. They're already sporty by itself. Here it's more about the fabric color in the GTI trim. The GTI trim does work for this very vehicle, yes, I would think so. Also because it is in general fun to drive. It is actually suitable also for taller people, even if it doesn't look like it. And to me also still the segment leader for the microcars. And also good that they have put in the particle filters now for the petrol engines. One step further also for cleaner cities, that's for sure. And the most important thing is, of course, driving fun. Then when you put the throttle down, in general the consumption is not that high, of course, with such a small car. And here you can somehow then combine your everyday driving life, going to the, to the shops, just somewhere in the city especially, and then spice it up a little bit on the way. I think that works pretty well. What do you think? Tell me your comments, what you think about the Volkswagen Up GTI, and also join us next time.